Hey Francis, how's it going?
Hi, David. Everything's going good. Good to see
Good.
you.
Miss you too. Yankee.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
You
Hey, Yankee.
Mute everybody. All right, I muted everybody, but feel free to come off and say hi. I just wanted to make sure whoever's still on there. We're not hearing any echoes.
Hey, Madison. Can you send Penny the link? She can't get on.
Yes, of course I can. Um, 1 second. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Hello. Doing well.
All right.
Chilly here in the Northeast. We had like a surprise snow. At least it was a surprise to me.
Yeah,
Nice. Yuki.
it was snowing a lot for a little while.
It was.
Hello.
Hi. Awesome
Hello.
group. This is great. We have so many people on. We have Josh here and some nice announcements.
All
Good
right.
evening, everyone.
Hello.
All right, guys. So it's 7 o'clock. So I think we can go ahead and get started. So I will pull up the slides for us today.
Amelia just wants to say hi.
Hi,
Say hi.
Amelia.
Hi, Mimi.
Hi.
Hi, Amelia.
Oh
Hi,
my,
Amelia.
Hi.
Thanks for helping out.
I know we love a guest star. All right.
Should we talk about Bluey?
Very popular subject.
Here I am.
Oh,
Great.
I'm glad you made it.
There's our
Yay.
patient of the year.
How are
Hey,
you
Penny.
all?
Good.
Hi, Dr. B. Hi, David. Hi,
Hey,
Maddie.
Penny.
Hi,
Hi, Penny.
Catherine.
Penny, are you excited for the talk that we're going to have today on
I
Oligocentric?
can't wait. I'm jazzed.
I bet.
I told Rock. Rock is sitting here with me. I said, we can't miss this one. I don't usually, but
Hi,
right there.
everybody. Nice to see
Hey,
you.
Rock. How you doing?
All right, guys. Well, let's kick it off here. Welcome to our first community gathering of 2025. We're so excited to all be here and celebrating Rare Disease Day, which is coming up soon. So as usual, we'll do the quick welcome, which we're going through right now. Our CDCN team is growing, so we have some introductions to do. And then we'll talk a little bit about Rare Disease Day, go through the updates at the CDCN and some exciting news. And then we'll hand it over to Josh, who's going to tell us more about oligocentric Castleman disease. And then we'll leave the last remaining time open for questions for David and Josh. So, with that being said, our team is growing and we have three new team members, one of which some of you may be familiar with already is Emily Melberger. She joined us in November. She is our new program coordinator. We have a brand new scientific director and executive director, both of which started in the beginning of February. So we have Scott joining and we have Catherine Housel joining. So I'm actually going to pull down the screens or the slides for a second and let Emily and Scott and Catherine introduce themselves. So first things first, I'll pass it off to Emily if you want to say some words and tell us a little bit about yourself. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
sure. Hi, everyone. I've met some of you before virtually. Um, I started in November, like Madison said.
I work with like Madison on like the patient engagement side and community, and also on the development side, which is like with our grants and fundraising. I love the CDCN and being a part of it, and I'm really excited to get to know all of you more and meet some of you in person. And yes, your puppy is really cute, Lisa. I'm looking at them too.
Beauty. All right, Scott, do you want to say a couple words yourself too?
Yeah, so I joined about 3 weeks ago, and I'm taking on the position of scientific director, where I will be coordinating and working with physicians in our network on the scientific advisory board towards advancing care and therapies for Castleman disease, and also trying to understand the disease more so we can bring more to all of you. And I'm really excited to be part of this team and to get to know everyone here.
Thanks, Scott. We're so lucky to have you. And then I'm going to pass it over to Mary, who is going to take us from there.
Yeah, so great to see those of you who I've had the pleasure of knowing, and love always seeing new faces as well. Wanted to share a bit of first background about myself. So I've been working with David in the CDCN for 10 years now. I started as a volunteer when we only had volunteers at the CDCN. And in my role as a part-time executive director, I've grown the team, matured our operation. Madison actually just celebrated her 1-year anniversary, which is super exciting. And now that we have Scott and Emily on board, that makes 3 full-time CDCN staff. That's in addition to about the 15 scientists that are at the Castle lab at Penn. But we realized that it was time to transition into a full-time executive director position. And I'm so thrilled that Catherine Housel was selected to lead this team. And I know that she's going to bring the CDCN's impact to new heights. So I plan to join the board and stay involved from that perspective. But it has truly been an honor and a privilege to serve this community and work on your behalf. The fights that each of you are facing are truly inspirational, and I just love this community. So you're not getting rid of me, but I am pleased to continue serving as a member of the board, and will always be a champion for you all. So please join me in also welcoming Catherine.
And Mayor, is it okay if I just say a couple remarks? My little guy David is clearly very excited about Catherine as
Hey,
well.
buddy.
I just wanted to just share a couple comments. First, just
Hi, how are you, everyone?
he is a mascot. So first, just wanted to say how incredible of a job that Mary has done over this last decade. CDCN would not be where it is. It wouldn't even be close to where it is if it were not for Mary. Mary has contributed to this organization in a million ways, and I'm just so thankful she's going to continue to contribute to this organization moving forward in new ways and new capacities. But it can't be overstated enough just how incredible it's been to work with Mary. She's been a partner in crime for these last 10 years, and we have really been able to make so much impact thanks to all of you, and really to Mary's hard work. And then I also wanted to say a couple comments about Catherine. So excited to have her moving into this role as full-time executive director. I've been able to work with Catherine for the last few years as she's been a board member for the CDCN, and has been an amazing partner as we've worked to continue to grow things. Catherine, first got involved with the CDCN a few years ago, and I'm sure she'll share more about her time with the organization. But it's just been incredible to work with her, and I'm so thrilled that she's in this role. So maybe I'll turn it over to you, Catherine.
Thank you both for the lovely introduction, and just to echo what David has said about Mary, what you all know about Mary. I mean, I was impressed from the get-go. The first time I met her, I don't know, like 5 years ago or whenever it was. And all of the work that has been done up to this point, as somebody who just got involved and started learning about the organization, and then as a board member, and now in this new role, I'm just so impressed, and definitely feel the impact that has already happened. And I'm so excited to continue the momentum. The reason that I found CDCN is because David's book piqued my interest, because my father had Castleman disease and was diagnosed in 1996, and unfortunately passed away within a year of his diagnosis, because at that time there was nothing specifically designed for it. And for decades, I didn't hear anything about the disease. And then when I started hearing about this physician researcher out of Penn, it definitely piqued my interest, and I got in touch with David, and that's how I found the CDCN. So I know how meaningful the organization has been just for me as a loved one, and then getting to know so many of you over the years through events has been really, really special as well. So I'm just thrilled and very honored. So thank you.
Thank you. We're so excited to have you here, Catherine and Mary. It's so good to know you'll still be a part of the team, still be at the summit, and we'll see your face around.
That's right.
Not getting rid of you anytime soon. Does anybody have any questions on the changes that are happening before we get started, or we all feel good about it? Cool. I will take that as a sign that we're all feeling good. All right. So let
Can
me
I say a word? Just a moment, please.
Sure.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and I say hello to everyone. And I'm here from Chile. And I born in Venezuela, but I live in Chile. So I'm happy to be here, and I say you to be strong in this way. This is difficult, but I'm really happy to be here, and I share you my feeling that I'm happy to be here. So it's a great moment to be together in our battle. So that's it. That's
Well, thanks
go
for
ahead.
sharing. We're
Thanks
so
so
glad to
much.
have you here.
Great to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm gonna pull our slides back up. So now that we know our team, we can move on to Rare Disease Day is coming up. So it will be next Friday. And as you guys may have seen on our social media, we are doing the Castleman Warrior Flex Challenge to celebrate Castleman disease and Rare Disease Day and bring attention to Castleman disease and learn a little bit more about what it is and help other people figure it out. So the hope is, well, you guys have all seen the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge before, where people were dumping buckets of ice on each other's head to spread awareness. What we're doing is we're flexing everywhere we can. So there's still time. We have 8 more days left in February. So if you guys are out and taking pictures of you flexing, be sure to hashtag Castleman Warrior Flex and tag the Cure Castleman Instagram handle, and maybe you'll see yourself featured on our pages. Hopefully we can make this go way beyond Rare Disease Day in February, and we can just carry it on as a new thing that everywhere we go, we're flexing and people can recognize Castleman disease and our warriors just by the stance. But we're doing a lot of fun things at the CDCN this year, including the Flex to celebrate rare disease, like growing our team a little bit. We updated our patient toolkit, and we'll be launching a new community management platform. Our community, like it's an engagement platform for all of our patients, our loved ones to come together and be connected a little bit closer. But before we move on to talking about those things, I just wanted to open it up to see if anybody wanted to share a little bit about what Rare Disease Day means to you guys and what your experience with a rare disease has been like. And, just take some time to be here together. So if anybody wants to come off of mute and tell us about their journey, now will be your time.
Looks like we have some folks who could potentially be celebrating their first rare disease day as a patient or a loved one of someone with a rare disease. So I'm just so huge welcome and so glad that you guys found us so quickly. I mean, 2 weeks from diagnosis, getting siltuximab tomorrow, Andrew, that's incredible. We have an amazing warrior group with many years under their belt collectively. Yankee, can I call on you to share about Rare Disease Day and how you've celebrated before?
Yeah, I've been every year since I diagnosed the Castleman disease, I always go to celebrate the February 28th. I went to the State House and I talked to the senator, talked to the congressman, and talk about the bill. Always talk about the
Yes.
bill. We need that. Like in the last year, they passed the bill like the newborn baby screening, which means if you have the rare disease, they will have a test to test your baby before it's damaged. It's a great mission. Please talk to your seat, the mayor, talk to anyone you know. And now I'm doing like the fight back pharmacy bill. It's pretty good because they're gonna cut a lot of PPM, that kind of things is playing around. So we are very hard to get medicines right away. So working on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Yankee.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's so important. And thanks for sharing. We actually had one of our team members last year for World Castleman Disease Day. He wrote a few petitions to all of the different cities this in Pennsylvania, in the city of Harrisburg, officially deemed World Castleman Disease Day a holiday in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So it's so exciting. And everybody can do that for their own areas.
Great.
All right. Anyone else want to share a couple
Maybe I
words?
could talk a little bit.
Yeah, we love that.
For those who don't know me, I'm Marie-Ève, and as you can hear my accent, I'm French-speaking people, but I will try my best to share my experience. I am CD Tafro, and I'm sorry, yes, and it's my first really big year that I'm fully engaged for the February in total for the Rare Disease Day, but also the Rare Disease Month. So here in Quebec, we have a webinar, a web gathering like that, like each week of February, and a lot of I'm sorry, I lose my words tonight, but like a lot of gathering, and we share about the rare disease and stuff like that. And I'm now trying to link the CDCN and the here in Quebec, the collaborative network here in Quebec with Castleman Disease Collaborative Network, because we need to have this partnership. So that's it.
Absolutely. And thank you for doing that and advocating on behalf of the community. Let us know what we can do to help. We are always here and we're always in your corner. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for sharing those stories and what you guys are doing to celebrate Rare Disease Day. As I mentioned, one thing that we're doing at the CDCN is we're relaunching, because there used to be a CDCN Connect platform, but another version of CDCN Connect, which will be a private community for patients and loved ones to join. There will be, as you can see here on the left of this screenshot of the homepage, private discussion threads based off of your role and your relationship to Castleman disease, so that you can connect with other people who have similar experiences to you. The platform will also have a patient directory, which I know when we had the summit last year, so many people were asking how they can get in contact with other patients who have the same subtype or live in the same area as them. And this will be a great resource for you to go to find other members of our community who can relate to you. There's also there's direct messaging features in this platform. There's a resource library where you'll be able to go and access the physician referral lists or the patient toolkit. Any sort of educational materials we have, we'll be able to put there, so that way it's all right at your disposal whenever you want it. And then the other exciting thing that we're creating on there is we'll have a Warrior Flex photo wall. So you can go and you can drop your pictures of you doing the flex right there and everybody can see it. So we're really excited about this. There will be more information coming out on Rare Disease Day. You'll receive an email with the link to register. So we hope you all enroll and really enjoy it. I think it's going to be a really awesome feature that we'll have at the CDCN.
In the chat, Krista asked what platform it was. So like it's on a platform called Circle. What Madison did for the past few months is she researched like maybe 6 different platforms that we could use for this. So this was the one that like met all the criteria that most patients and loved ones were asking for. And it's like a secure community as well. So that way, you know, everyone that is in it is a patient or loved one. So that's why we're excited about it in addition to like our Facebook page. This is more private, more secure, and like really just a place for all of you to go. So that's just to answer that one question.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so many people don't like to use social media. So this kind of includes other members of our community who don't want to be out in the public with like a Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. This is something that you don't need social media for. You can just join and you're protected here. So we're excited about that. And also then there's things like the resource library or the events management page where you can't access some of the resources that we have on our Facebook support group page. So this will be just another offering. The support group page will still be there, don't worry. But yeah, we're very excited about it. You may have seen today on our social media and in an email that went out a couple weeks ago, we made updates to the patient toolkit. The new version of the patient toolkit includes oligocentric Castleman disease, which we're going to learn a little bit more about soon. Some of the different community events that you can get involved in, how to become a warrior, and updated FAQs or frequently asked questions and publications that are all interactive. There's hyperlinks throughout, so you can just click on the links and it will take you directly to the resource or the page that you're looking for. If you haven't gotten that yet or you just want it again, you can email me and I'd be happy to give you a copy directly. But we're really excited to have that offering and make it a little bit more current to what we know about Castleman disease now. The last time it was updated was in 2020, so there's a lot to learn in 5 years. So the moment that you're probably all waiting for is the mark your calendars and save the date for 2025. As you know, Rare Disease Day is coming up on the 28th. We'll be having the annual Quest for a Cure Gala May 8th, and you're all welcome to join if you can make it to Pennsylvania. The $1 Million Bike Ride will be on June 14th this year, hosted at the University of Pennsylvania. And then, as usual, World Castleman Disease Day will be July 23rd. And then the big one is the Patient and Loved One Summit, which I know everybody's very excited about. We will be hosting it in Philadelphia again this year at the study. It will be August 7th through 9th, so the same format, a Thursday to Saturday event. Thursday night will be the Warrior Welcome. We'll do the full day of programming on Friday. And then Saturday, we'll do another community activity together where we can go out into Philadelphia and explore. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions?
Hello, I'm Miriam, Bianca's mom.
Hi, nice to meet you, Miriam.
Hello,
good to see you, Bianca.
Here.
Oh.
Wait, sorry, it muted us again. So she was recently diagnosed, well, not recently, she was diagnosed last April of 2024 with multicentric Castleman disease, and it's been kind of a spiral. She's been in and out of the hospital and stuff like that. So I've been trying to get a little bit more involved, but honestly, with time, it's kind of been hectic. But I would love to get more involved. We have a huge community, friends, family that have been wanting to donate to the foundation, like to the Castleman's Disease Foundation. I was gonna reach out and ask, is there like a link that we can get for Bianca for like all family, friends? And I mean, we have a lot of community that would love to donate. Like we have like her dad's work that, want to participate, like my old, workplace. I mean, she's gotten such a outreach of support what we have that it's amazing. And it's like, I don't know where to start. I don't want to like, a lot of people are like, well, where can we send, where can we donate? We want to support you guys. And so I don't know if there's some like where to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you took the right first step. You got connected with the CDCN and then you came to one of our community gatherings. As you can tell, we have a huge community here too, and we're so grateful to have you on this call with us. We certainly there's a ton of options. We have a handful of warriors on this call that could probably speak to it a bit more, but we have a group of community or of patients that are advocates or ambassadors of the patient community, and we create a fundraising link specifically for them where they reach out to their communities and they fundraise through those links. So it's tied to them. All of their community like members are donating in their honor. So I'd be happy to work with you to set one of those links up for Bianca if you'd like to do that. And
Definitely. I just didn't want to take any funds personally. I never want there to be like any miscommunication, like, well, where did you donate to? Or, anybody to get that, have that feeling. So that's why I'm like, let me, I keep telling everybody, this day's coming up, or, I'll ask and, I'll go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did do something last year and it was last minute, because we newly diagnosed. And, I know she did get quite a few donations sent in and stuff. But I know it would be much bigger, and it's something that I would love for people to do just to continue to help, because honestly, I feel like I'm kind of at a loss with the whole diagnosis, and I'm still trying to learn and reading, and then it's a lot.
I know it certainly is a lot, and I understand where you're coming from. I will shoot you an email after this meeting, and we can talk through some of the options that we have because there's certain.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will try to come out in August. We are trying our best. She just has been in and out of the hospital a lot sick. But we're praying that we can make it out there and, meet, because I mean, like I said, we'd love to learn a lot more. I mean, I feel like we know 1% of what Castleman's is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's
Can absolutely help you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you.
It's good to meet you, Bianca.
Say hi.
Hi.
All right. So next we're going to talk about research studies and a couple of opportunities to get involved. I know the last community gathering that we had, we shared we were looking for 3 more patients to participate in stage 2 of the study for a symptom burden scale that's being done. That they concluded the second phase of it. So now we're moving on to phase 3, which we're looking for 100 patients who have IMCD to participate in a 30-minute survey. And really, it's just going to try to better understand what your experiences and your symptoms have been like with IMCD. And then the goal is to create a scale that physicians can use to better understand the symptoms of Castleman disease. So if you're interested in participating, you can shoot me an email. My email is right here. It's just madison@castlemannetwork.org. And you get $50 in an Amazon voucher if you do participate. So that's always exciting. We're also still looking for multicentric Castleman patients who have either been diagnosed as a child or have been pregnant before or after being diagnosed with Castleman disease. We'd love to learn more about your experience and get a donation from you. So if you're interested in participating in one of those studies or you want to fall into one of these 2 groups, you can reach out to Bridget or Larissa at accelerate@uphs.upenn.edu, and they'll help walk you through that process. And then also, we're always looking for more samples for blood or saliva donations. So the same is true. You can reach out to the Castle Bank, and Bridget will help coordinate getting a sample donation from you. We're specifically in need of IMCD patients who want to donate a sample, parents and siblings of an IMCD patient, or IMCD patients experiencing symptoms with an abnormal labs. And then we also need healthy donors who are over 60 years old. We use them as a control. So we'd love for you to participate. If you fall into any of these groups, please feel free to reach out to us again. You can email me, you can email Bridget, whichever is the easiest way for you to get involved. We will be here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Josh, who is going to walk us through oligocentric Castleman disease.
Thanks so much, Madison. I absolutely love seeing everyone here and hearing everyone's stories and how connected we are from people around the world. It is such an isolating experience being diagnosed with a rare disease. So this is so important to remember how actually not alone you are, that there is this community, and to know that we are very interested in trying to make this experience better. I think one of the most frustrating experiences that doctors have is that we say is not knowing the answer. We want to know the answer always. And with a rare disease and with Castleman, the answer is unfortunately too many times, I don't know. And this is our attempts to start to answer these questions and fill in gaps in our knowledge about what Castleman disease is. And to answer these questions, we look to our patient registry. That's the Accelerate registry. This is where where you guys have all provided your medical information very generously to us so we can assemble it all in an organized way and then ask questions. Are these really features of the disease? Is this just one person's experience? Are there commonalities that we can use to find insights into what actually this disease is and isn't? And so that's what we've been doing. That's what this work is on oligocentric Castleman disease, is mining the registry that was fueled by your information to ask the questions that we have as doctors and that you have as patients about what is this disease and what our people's experiences are broadly. And this is this new entity that we're describing, oligocentric Castleman disease. And I'm sorry, I think I'm going to be dependent on you to change the slides for me. So I'll say slide if it's not too curt.
Perfect.
And I have to, of course, thank the person who actually did this work. I'm really just pitch hitting for her here, and that's Sheila Pearson, who is my predecessor in being the steward of this registry. And she did a lot of this hard work of putting this paper together, which was just published in Blood Advances this week, and will hopefully allow us to share this information with other doctors so that we're not just keeping this information to ourselves, we're sharing it and trying to publicize it as broadly as we can so that other doctors who don't happen to be in Philadelphia can also learn about the same things that we're learning about this disease. And so this begins, of course, with idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease, which, as everyone here can attest, is a challenging diagnosis. You need big lymph nodes, you need them in more than one spot. That can be pretty straightforward, but then there's the uphill battle of, well, what does it actually look like under the microscope? Is that Castleman disease? Is it not Castleman disease? I'm sure a lot of people here have had their lymph nodes evaluated by several different pathologists to get this answer. And in addition to diagnose multicentric Castleman disease, you need laboratory criteria that satisfy the evidence of systemic inflammation in the body. And you need a particular set of symptoms or clinical signs that happen. And so this is challenging. You need these sort of three different circles to kind of come together perfectly to get you to the idiopathic multicentric Castleman diagnosis. But as we all know, there are patients who fall maybe short of these criteria, but still have big lymph nodes and they still look like Castleman disease under the microscope. And it's been a challenge then to always know exactly what to do with them and what we can expect for that. And so what we've been trying to do is really flesh this out as a spectrum of different illnesses that present in different ways. And you can probably show a lot of other different people here because, of course, we know that even within one of these categories, unicentric Castleman disease on the far left, for example, there are many different presentations of that. But we do see this as a spectrum of illness, whereas, what you have at diagnosis is really what you usually have. It's not a progression from unicentric to multicentric, but there are a bunch of different ways that patients present, with on the extreme end of mild being the patient who's probably not on this call, a unicentric Castleman disease patient who got diagnosed accidentally, had it taken out of them, and have never thought about Castleman ever since then, all the way through to patients with the Tafro variant of idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease who have had a much more severe presentation that required being in the hospital many times and sometimes in the intensive care unit. And so what we are appreciating is, sorry, I'm going to go back. I'm going to keep dwelling on this slide a little bit, is that there's something in between unicentric Castleman disease and the different manifestations of idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease, oligocentric Castleman disease, which we're defining as being sort of in more than one spot. It's not uni, it's in more than one spot, but not quite multicentric Castleman disease. And I'll explain what I mean by that in the next couple of slides. Now we can advance the slide. And so for oligocentric Castleman disease, we're defining this as having anywhere from 2 to 5 different stations of enlarged lymph nodes that are often in adjacent or at least very closely localized lymph node region stations, usually on the same side of the diaphragm. And that these patients typically do not, and what makes them different from multicentric Castleman disease patients is while they may have some degree of symptoms, just like a unicentric patient may have quite bothersome symptoms, they don't quite meet the criteria required for the multicentric Castleman disease diagnosis, either based on the symptoms that they have or because of they don't have the lab abnormalities, that third circle that was required to all come together to make the IMCD diagnosis. And so this is really stemming also from what we've seen with patients, what you guys have told us, where there are patients who, yes, it's not in one lymph node station, so you can't call it uni, but who otherwise are otherwise not quite multicentric Castleman disease patients. And so we can advance the slide here. And so, as I said, these are patients for anywhere from 2 to 4, 2 to 5 different lymph node stations that are typically adjacent and usually on the same side of the diaphragm. We, in oncology, tend to think about the diaphragm as being sort of a cutoff point for where we would think about disease being systemic all over, or considering it more of a regional presentation. Neck, armpit, above the clavicle and the shoulder, in the chest, in the belly, in the retroperitoneum, which is the space behind the belly, in the back toward the kidneys, or in the groin region, the inguinal femoral, where you can have maybe a couple of these stations involved, maybe on different sides, maybe bilateral cervical lymphadenopathy on the side of the neck. But it's usually these sort of like related regions where we present with what we've been calling these oligocentric Castleman patients. Oh, it's a typo on this slide too. You can advance it. Thank you. And right now, and I'll explain why in the next few slides, the consensus guidelines will recommend surgical resection and treatment similar to unicentric Castleman disease for all enlarged lymph nodes for patients diagnosed with unicentric Castleman disease wherever, or with oligocentric Castleman disease wherever possible. And that is actually right up to this week, the real bulk of the literature on oligocentric Castleman disease was within the unicentric Castleman disease treatment and diagnosis paper that we wrote a few years back, where there's really just sort of this like small section that if you happen to already suspect that your oligocentric Castleman disease patient was unicentric, that you happen to pick up that paper to read, it was a little section there. And what's so nice about this additional publication that came out is that it's right there in the title what it is. And we hope that will help a provider who's not otherwise connected to or has many Castleman disease patients to get the right answer. And someone asked a really important question. Thank you, Mateo, by the way, for putting the paper link in the chat. And someone asked a really important question I noticed in the chat, which is, can you really get all these nodes taken out? Which is a really, I think, important. And this is sort of a little bit of a balance, and is also true for unicentric patients where you have to balance the benefits of resection against the morbidity that, how invasive a surgery it is to resect. And so that can sometimes be a balance. And so there are other feasible options where surgical resection is not possible. That could be partial resection. Sometimes if you take out, particularly if you have like one very dominant node that's a lot larger than the others, you can see involution, regression of the other non-dominant nodes. There are other therapies such as radiation, interventional radiology procedure called embolization. You can use some medications like rituximab, which is an IV medication that depletes a particular kind of white blood cell to actually shrink lymph nodes to make them more amenable to surgical resection. And I apologize, I skipped an important thing here in this slide, which is you can also actively surveil patients as well. You can really watch and see if it's not causing you any symptoms, it's not bothering you. There are we know from unicentric patients, there are low percentage long-term risks of transformation to lymphoma, but these are small risks. And so for some patients, if the surgery is too much, it might make sense really to just watch, and they're not having symptoms, it might make sense to just watch these. We can advance this slide. So this is the work that Sheila did. And I'm not going to go in too much into the weeds of all these data charts because I think, oh my gosh, 9 hours is a massive one, Richard. Wow, I'm so sorry about that. But I'm not going to go too much into the weeds of all these data charts because they're there in the paper, but I'll walk you through a little bit. So this is using this Accelerate patient registry, right? You look at we had 304 cases to sort through. And our analysts do an incredible job of actually going through every one of your notes. That was everything that any doctor or nurse ever wrote about you, all the labs, the infinite number of labs, putting them all in an organized fashion, then submitting it to an external body that we call the CAST, Certification and Access Subcommittee of the Castleman Disease Collaborative Network, which is a group of Castleman disease experienced doctors and pathologists who look at your pathology slides, so read all these summaries of your case and try to adjudicate whether or not they think that they actually think they're Castleman or not Castleman disease. And they would do that. And they would also see whether they thought they were clearly unicentric Castleman disease or clearly multicentric Castleman disease, or if they were somewhere in between. You can see we had about 119 cases that we could confirm were multicentric Castleman, 46 that were unicentric, and a subset of 14 that were neither clearly unicentric nor clearly multicentric. And you can advance the slide. And we can look at these patients, and this is just a graph on the left. It's just a graph where you compare whether they have any of those those laboratory evidence of inflammation or symptoms that are the minor diagnostic criteria versus the number of enlarged lymph nodes. And you can see these sort of things that are not clearly multicentric and not clearly unicentric, these purple dots, show you can see they're more than one lymph node station. They're more than the orange dots. So they're a little farther to the right on the x-axis, but they don't have all the same different symptoms and laboratory abnormalities that the multicentric patients have up top in green. And these next on the right just shows you a little bit regionally about where these lymph nodes lie. And we can advance the slide. We then asked, what our panelists thought, our expert clinicians and pathologists matched up with how the patients were actually treated by their doctors. And you can see for the multicentric Castleman patients that we thought were multicentric Castleman, most of the doctors thankfully thought they were multicentric Castleman patients. And for the patients that we thought were unicentric, most of their doctors also thought they were unicentric Castleman patients. And you can see in this group of patients that we later call oligocentric that were not either clearly multicentric or unicentric Castleman disease, but definitely had big lymph nodes with a Castleman histology. Some of the doctors call them multicentric, some of them call them unicentric. And I'll say anecdotally, we heard stories about these patients being treated with aggressive multicentric management strategies just because they said, well, two is more than one, and so therefore they should be multicentric Castleman patients. And so this is really what we were hoping to address, I think, with this paper, is to provide better clarity that just because two is more than one, it doesn't mean it has to be multicentric. And this is not, as David's pointed, this was not otherwise described. And so this is what's so exciting, is that we're finally bringing some attention to this. We can advance this slide. The symptoms of an oligocentric patient, since by definition, they're not going to have the same sort of symptoms that a multicentric patient have, really do resemble what a unicentric patient could experience. You can see that there's fatigue being probably the biggest symptom, and night sweats that they would face. We can advance the slide here. Their lab abnormalities also look more like unicentric compared to multicentric. You can advance more lab abnormalities, again, showing similarities between unicentric and oligocentric. Unfortunately, with 14 patients, it's really hard to then, who all got treated a little bit differently. It was really hard to say what was the right treatment then. And this is where I'm going to make a plug for any contributions. If you're not already plugged in with our registry, please join our registry, because the more patients we have, the better the story we can tell in providing answers to the questions that we all have about this disease. And we can advance the slide. And I think that's where I'll pause and invite questions. But really, I think particularly all the patients who shared stories about their kids with Castleman, this is something I think we're really excited about being able to shed more light on, is the pediatric experience, what happens when kids get IMCD. And that will be our ability to tell a good story, to be able to really clearly say how kids might be different from grown-ups in Castleman, and their experiences with Castleman disease will be dependent on how many patients we get into this registry. And so that any contributions you can do, your willingness to share your medical record information with the registry, will help us to better to learn more about how the kids present with Castleman disease, and then share that broadly with the world.
All right, guys, so now's your time. Any questions you have for Josh or David, they're here for you.
And I would just add, Josh, thanks so much for sharing that. And I put a note in the chat that Penny was a real champion for this very early on, pointing out, like, hey, David, hey, team, like, there's this unicentric thing, there's this multicentric, like, I seem to be falling through the cracks. And I just so appreciate her advocacy and championing and just being such a partner to us on this. So I just want to emphasize Penny for everything that you've done. You've been just such an awesome partner. So thank you for just being amazing. And I also
thank you for being amazing, and the CDCN, because thank God you listened to me.
Hey, you know what? You're easy to listen to, Penny.
Oh, thank you.
No, you've got such a good heart, and you're an amazing champion. So I just wanted to thank Penny, and then I also wanted to say, for these last 10 or so minutes, please feel free to ask any questions about the spectrum, about of Castleman's, about oligocentric Castleman disease. But also, this is time where you could ask other questions about other things too. So you've got, two people, and me and Josh, who think about Castleman's all the time, and you've got other folks like Catherine and Mary and Madison and Emily and others who also think about Castleman's all the time, who are here to answer questions that you might have. So it could be related to the disease, it could be related to the organization, anything on your mind.
Sarah, I love your question. I feel also quite passionately about that subject, and it's one of the stories we're actively trying to tell. So also, if you have not already joined our registry, please, because that is something that we are very keenly interested in, which is the experience of pregnancy and IMCD, treatments in pregnancy, fertility in general, even for the men. I think this is something that we have a lot of unknowns on. Unfortunately, a lot of I don't knows from doctors, or where we ask you to make an informed decision based on our explanations of the benefits and risks of pregnancy with IMCD. And we're trying to learn more and fill in those gaps.
So we do have a couple of questions in the chat that I can read out. I'm looking at one from Krista right now that says, are these dumb lymph nodes gonna keep growing? It seems like so many bumps and lumps. Um, is that right? Or I like that you said resecting a big one can make others start to diminish. Is that right?
Yeah, it really depends on if you have unicentric or oligocentric or multicentric. If you have unicentric and you've got, let's say, 5 nodes, in your right cervical chain, so right side of your neck, it is possible that if one of those gets resected, the other ones will shrink away. Now, if you have oligocentric, where you got a few different regions of enlarged nodes, I'm not aware of cases where, cutting out one results in the other one shrinking away. And certainly in multicentric Castleman disease, we've never heard of that. But so it really depends on what subtype you have. And I should also couch everything I've said with, and Castleman is really complicated. So there sort of seems like there's exceptions to every one of these comments. And then it looks like I got a message that Sarah has, or Krista has oligo Castleman's. And so this, we really don't know. We're not aware of any patients where cutting out one node results in everything else shrinking away.
Hi, everybody. Can I add something?
Please.
My name is Jeff. I was just diagnosed this month. I still have my fresh scar here, and I was diagnosed with excuse me, it's so new to me I can't even pronounce it, but that's what I was diagnosed with. I had a 6 centimeter lymph node in my neck. I had one in my armpit too that I did not know about until I had a CAT scan. When I did a PET scan after my surgery, they took the big one out, and then the other one in my armpit actually did go down.
Right.
So I don't know if that was, I kind of asked my doctor. I went to the first time from Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, and he said that's what he diagnosed me with, the oligocentric, and he said, that was a good thing. And then he told me he was going to delay any treatment and just give me observations and ultrasounds every 3 months because of this. So a little bit nervous for me because I was kind of thinking I was going to get on stoleximab or the other med, and I wasn't. So I'm a little bit nervous that maybe we're taking too, I guess, conservative an approach. I'm happy that we're doing that, but I don't know if you ever had any experience with that where, that a doctor decided not to do treatment and do the observation.
Yeah, I mean, for a patient with oligocentric Castleman disease, it's very reasonable to do that. A big question is, what are your symptoms and what are your abnormal blood tests? So when they do a bunch of blood tests, are your blood tests normal or do you have symptoms? That's probably the most important question.
Yeah, for me, the blood came back pretty normal. So I think that's kind of why he did that. The symptoms I had, I was suffering from fatigue, and I was having multiple ear infections and head colds, and I don't know if that was related, but I've had, 4 surgeries in the last 2 years going to ENTs, and they just kept doing surgeries in my ears. And it's funny because I was having trouble hearing, and then once they took this lymph node out 3 weeks ago, my hearing has automatically gotten better.
Right, and your
Which
fatigue has gotten better too. You feel like you feel better since
yes,
it's gone?
I do. I do.
That's such a good sign. I'm really interested to hear Josh's thoughts, but I mean, it's such a great sign. If the symptoms are getting better and the blood work looks good, that's a really good sign. I mean, Castleman's is interesting in that it's quite consistent, meaning that patients who start out with a clinical picture like you described never turn into a patient who's in the ICU with all their organs shutting down. We just never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Typically, the way you present early on is usually how you keep presenting. You don't like sort of accelerate. There's a lot of diseases that really do accelerate and exacerbate, but if you present very aggressively, you will continue to present aggressively with relapses. But if you present the way that you described, typically it doesn't sort of transition or get into this new phase. So I think it's reasonable to consider the watch and wait. What do you think, Jeff?
Awesome.
Oh, I completely agree. You have to think about why you do a treatment, right? In order to absorb any of just the time of sitting there or the side effects of any treatment. So it's got to have a benefit to you. And since we don't see that there's some sort of like disease progression where you start a Lego and become multicentric, there's no reason that treatment's is going to prevent you from becoming in a worse state or developing multicentric disease. What you've got is what you've got. And so if you're not having symptoms, then I don't see a benefit right now for using one of those therapies. They're there for you if we need them.
Yeah.
Yep.
but I don't see how it would help you at this point.
Got it. Thank you. One more thing, Doc. I've been seeing you do a lot of things about autism on your page. I have a 5-year-old with autism, so really truly appreciate that. I've been really following you and appreciate the work.
Well, sending hugs to you and your family.
Thank you, man.
We've got a treatment that we've come across through the other nonprofit that I'm part of, Every Cure, that is just a vitamin derivative that turns out that it looks like it can help a large portion of kids with autism, and just it's not being used at all. So I and my colleagues are all fired up about trying to get the word out so that way, this medicine can help people with their speech that are struggling with their speech. So we're on the case.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed 9 years ago with UCD. I had put in the comments there, I had gone through a 9-hour resection because it was in the mediastinum. One question I do have is, have you found that that Castleman's would relate to any cardiac issues at all? January 2nd of this year, I went into a complete AV node block and had passed 3 times in the day and had been resuscitated. And I didn't know if there's any links between any of these things, because the doctors that I go to, basically, I have to explain to them what Castleman's is, because nobody really knows what it is. And I just didn't know if you've done any research that has come across any cardiac issues with Castleman's.
Josh, any experience you've had?
So I don't think I would specifically link Castleman disease with causing any sort of specific arrhythmia, with the exception, of course, of conduction problems, electric problems with the heart, which is what an AV node block would be, right? For those who don't know, this is a problem where the electrical system of the heart is getting interrupted in what it uses to get the heart to pump. And in the context of unicentric Castleman disease, I would think about it being potential to cause an AV nodal block or AFib because of where it is. If it pushes on the heart, this is how the heart shows that it's stressed. And these sort of electric systems of the heart can be susceptible to stress, whether that's because physical stress from unicentric Castleman disease pushing it on. And for multicentric Castleman disease patients, maybe a number of them have had different kinds of arrhythmias while they were sick in the hospital, because AFib, for example, is just how the heart deals with stress, or how it shows that it's sick. And so those would be the instances in which I would think about Castleman disease possibly causing your AV node block, whether it was because in your case you had mediastinal disease and you had a big surgery where you had doctors in there pushing on things, and that the heart feels that, and that sometimes it doesn't cope with that. It's not able to roll with it as well, and that could have been how your heart was doing that. And for the multicentric Castleman patients, when they were sick, when they're inflamed, that's how the heart's going to show it's inflamed. It'll jump into AFib.
Okay, because this was 9 years ago. I had the thoracic surgery, and I've been, in remission since. There is still a piece of it left because the node had grown around the nerve that controls speech and everything else. They didn't know whether I was going to be able to speak anymore after the surgery. But it was just really strange, because I said, I'm going to jump on and ask, because, there was, I didn't know, you just don't know. So it was 9 years ago. I don't think it was actually from anything pushing on the heart. Like I said, I've been in remission since. I've had PET scans every year for 7 years, and the partial or mostly resection was completed, and it seems to be okay. So I don't know where to go from here.
Well, you're past your 5-year anniversary, so I'd feel pretty good.
Yeah.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
That's a really big and meaningful anniversary to get to. So I'm feeling bullish and good about you moving forward.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was
but certainly, like mediastinum, that's when you have disease in the mediastinum, particularly near the great vessels. That's where a unicentric patient in particular can run into trouble because unicentric Castleman, more than multicentric Castleman, can get bigger lymph nodes. And
Oh, it was huge.
That can really start pushing on things and causing trouble. And
well, they
you know,
found it
you're
with an
it's an
X-ray, and
important
it
spot.
traced my trachea, and
Yeah.
they saw a bend in my trachea and said, "What's that?" And then they found out. So it's kind of an
there's not a lot of forgiveness when you get big things growing there. Whereas, the abdomen, the pelvis, these nodes can get pretty big and still not cause people that much in the way of trouble. But the mediastinum, you don't get away with that as well.
Would you recommend that I talk to my pulmonologist and perhaps get another PET scan just to make sure?
If you've had a PET scan at your 5-year anniversary that shows no evidence of disease, I'm not aware of any cases of recurrences after that. Because the patients who typically have recurrences usually related to subtotal resections. Oh, there was something that was sort of growing at the time that, the surgeon can only rely on what they see as being big, right?
Right.
And so they trying to get it all, but also didn't want to cause too morbid of surgery by taking out all your lymph nodes in that area.
Right.
And they left something, and oh, by the way, that was actually where there was some disease growing. Those are the patients who typically suffer recurrences, but I would suspect by 5 years it would have presented itself to you.
Okay, thank you. And I'd also like to thank everybody at CDCN. I mean, I've been following since I was diagnosed, and I know that I had sent tissue samples out to Penn and blood work and everything else to make sure that nobody else has to deal with what I had to deal with. So thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I might just follow on from that comment. Those blood samples and lymph node samples that so many of you all have shared and the medical data you all have shared, it is just so critical. It's everything. I mean, we learn everything with this paper that Josh presented, the tons of papers we've had, like they're only possible because of the samples and the data that you've provided. And we've learned so much. You all are on medicines because of discoveries that were made from samples that other ones of you provided, that I provided, that you provided. Like so we in this community have given of ourselves, our medical records, our blood, our lymph nodes, and in return we've gotten back medications that help other members of our community. And it's just it's so incredible. So it's a big thank you to you, Richard, and to others who have contributed data and samples, because that's been the fuel for so much progress.
I agree. All right, guys, it looks like we are over our time. For any questions we didn't get to, please feel free to email me and we will answer them. If you didn't catch it before, if you don't already know, my email address is madison@castlemannetwork.org. And one last thing before we go, I think if we could all take a picture flexing real quick in the screen. It's Rare Disease Month, and what would we do without being able to flex? So if everybody wants to flex, I will screenshot.
It's in your face too, as you can see from David.
All right, guys, I got one. All right, thank you so much, everyone. It was so good to see you all. Happy Rare Disease Day. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Everyone.
Lots of love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks so much.
Hi, Sid.
Thank you so much. Have a good day and week, everyone.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bonsoir.
Hey, Alejandro.
Bye-bye.
Bonsoir.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation.
Thank you.
All right, everyone.
I didn't want to leave.
I
Make
know,
us
right?
We drag this on as long as we can.
I mean, I'm in control of the Zoom room, so I could leave you guys here.
There's Francis. I see you now.
Hi, Penny. There, Jason.
How are you? Hi, Jason.
Doing great.
Good. Glad to hear it.
I'll miss you all this year.
No, we'll miss
Yeah, we're gonna miss you too, but I can't wait to see baby pictures.
Oh, it's coming.
you have to join in over Zoom.
I will be on Zoom, right in the front row. Maybe
Good.
FaceTime.
We'll be doing lunch in the main room.
Exactly.
Francis and all the kids in the screenshot.
Oh,
exactly. Did you see your kids were on the picture?
Sally dancing and singing for us.
Yes.
The next summit will be on August or
Adrian, you're on mute.
Yes, it will be
No one can hear
August
you.
7th through 9th.
yeah, good. My birthday is in August. So sorry. I mean, it will be great.
Exactly.
There should
I'm
be
so
a little
excited to be able to tell you
microphone
guys
on the
about this now.
left-hand side of your screen.
Oh, here, I can unmute you. Or here, I can ask to unmute.
Adrian.
Bye bye. See you all.
Bye, Alejandro.
Bye,
Bye
Alejandro.
bye.
All right, guys, it was so good to see you all.
Yeah. You too. Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Madison.
Sis.
Good night, Adrian, who's
Good night,
muted.
Linda. Good night, Francis. Good night, note taker. Good night, Maddie.
Penny.
I
Good
feel
night,
like the
everyone.
ones.
Good night, Moon.
Yeah, right. Bye, guys.
Good night.